Dear consumers, imagine that you are a 13-year-old Ivorian child laborer taken at the age of 10 to work on a cocoa farm, using dangerous machetes to recover cocoa pods filled with precious cocoa beans. Memories from the day that you were taken from your village still linger in your mind after 3 years.
The government has had many changes to end the use of child labor overall. They have set many goals and they haven't ended child labor yet. Their first goals were to end 100% of child labor. Now their goal for 2020 is to have 73% of child labor gone.
Have you ever worked for long hours? Have you ever thought you weren't getting paid enough? Have you ever felt like you were being taken advantage of? Or have you ever felt abused or been forced to make and or do something?
Dear Miss Buck, how would you feel if you had to work every day at the age of 5? How would you feel if your family sold you for money? What if you injured yourself and could not work anymore, and so your employer frees you in the jungle to die? This is what you and your chocolate company are supporting.
1980s, tuna customers rebelled against major tuna companies, boycotting their products until the companies agreed to end the purposeful slaughter of dolphins. So why can't we do it again? Today, millions of West African children are forced into hazardous, dangerous work situations for the chocolate industry, while consumers do nothing.
Children as young as 5 are using machetes in Cote d'Ivoire. They are going out into the woods to cut down cocoa pods. They don't have anything to eat. They are working in the heat every single day of their lives. DBQ Project. All of this to make the cocoa for the world. How does that make you feel?
Imagine waking up and being forced to do something you don't want to do. Being deprived of so many things in life. Instead of a free childhood, you have to cut cocoa pods down.
Milton S. Hershey once said, "If I ever become rich, I'm going to use my money to build schools to give every boy and girl an opportunity to get an education."
There are just 2 years left for Hershey and many other popular chocolate companies to fix the problem that has been created. Chocolate
Hershey
companies...
Milton once said, "One is only happy in proportion as he makes others feel happy."
Have you ever tried to keep yourself from tasting that sweet and scrumptious Hershey bar, but you just can't?
I had a chocolate bar and it was the best thing in the world. Now, however, I know there's a dark side of chocolate.
What can you do to end child labor in the chocolate? Hi, I'm Sarah. And I'm Kayla. I bet you didn't know the delicious chocolate you're eating is made from little children on cocoa farms that have their childhoods taken away from them. For example, one of the most popular chocolate companies, Hershey's, is made using child labor along with many other chocolate companies such as Mars and Nestle. Have you ever thought of that? Would you want your kids to be ripped away from a normal childhood and education? On the other hand, there's fair trade chocolate that doesn't involve child labor. It looks like this. It may cost a little bit more, but it's worth it, seeing that there is no forced or child labor, compared to this chocolate, which involves child labor. So now that you know what's going on in the chocolate industry, what can you do to help?
Imagine you are 13 and on a farm for hours, working in a field harvesting cocoa pods, cracking them open with machetes. Your parents were tricked into selling you, and you were taken away from your family to this farm at age 6.
On February 12, 2016, U.S. President Barack Obama officially closed the loophole allowing the goods made with child labor to cross into our country. However, many goods produced with labor, including chocolate, are still entering the U.S. This needs to stop.
American children get to enjoy chocolate almost every day, but it's at the expense of Ivorian children getting hurt just trying to harvest it.
Did you know that about 55% of all children working in agriculture in West Africa are in a form of forced labor?
Nearly 139 goods from 75 countries are made with forced and/or child labor.
Fair trade makes sure the cocoa farmers are paid a fair amount for their beans.
There are just 2 years left for Hershey and many other popular companies to fix the problem that has been created.
The companies don't pay the cocoa farmers much money.
They force the children into back-breaking work from dusk to dawn every day to collect precious cocoa beans for little to no pay.
Every cut I make, I have the chance to cut myself, to slice my hand, to hurt myself. Every day I see the sun rise, and I know that this will be another day to be yelled at, to be hurt, to live in fear.
Did you know that many children face tough labor conditions in the production of cocoa? No? Well, that's not surprising. Many people have no idea that their chocolate bar could be made by a child laborer.
Have you ever wondered what chocolate is made of? There's sugar, cocoa, and of course, Hershey's special ingredient, child labor.
We are eating something the child laborers suffered to make. Children in America eat chocolate, and children in West Africa are forced to produce it.
Did you know that 2.1 million children are the ones behind your delicious chocolate bar?
Every bar of chocolate you buy ruins another person's childhood and maybe their life.
So the next time a paycheck comes rolling in, think about the children in Côte d'Ivoire and all over West Africa working their fingers to the bone to get paid much less than you. Now isn't that bitter, Miss Buck?
5 years ago on this day you were taken from your family. You were told you were going to get an education. Now you look down at your arms and legs and see the scars from the machetes.
Just because they are children in a small poor country halfway across the world doesn't mean they don't matter.
But who has the most power to end child labor? The government makes the law, the chocolate companies break the law, yet the consumers barely know what happens to make our chocolate.
Chocolate is like the edible gold of mankind.
Everyone matters. Children are the future, and they should be able to get an education so they can at least learn, and not have to be put through pain every single day.
So children are forced to harvest cocoa beans. When you eat chocolate, you're making more children work.
All I want is peace, love, and a chocolate bar, said by chocoholics all around the world. Hearing this is difficult when children are being tortured almost to death, and all that comes out of hours of work is maybe a couple hundred cocoa beans.
When you take a bite of a chocolate bar, just think you are taking a bite of a child's blood, sweat, and tears.
It has already been 18 years. How long is Hershey going to make these suffering children wait?
We can all make a difference in this world. You can be part of the solution.
Life for children of West Africa is the opposite of ours.
These children will not make it out alive without your help.
Child labor has no place in our supply chain, Nestle Cocoa Plan. However, according to Green America in 2016, only 30% of your cocoa is fair trade certified.
Many children put their lives in danger to get chocolate too. Their parents most likely sold them to chocolate traffickers for very little money.
Consumers have the most power to end the use of child labor in the chocolate industry since they have louder voices.
Consumers have the most power because they're the ones who buy the product.
Have you ever wondered what it would be like to send your child away? To have them taken by people you don't trust? Saying that your child is going to get an education? Well, it's the opposite.
Every year, Americans consume 2.8 billion pounds of chocolate. That's 11 pounds per person. Little do they know, children in Africa as young as 4 are taken from their families and deprived of their childhoods to be slaves on illegal cocoa farms.
Did you know that you have power to stop child labor?
Many children in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire are being forced to do hard, unpaid labor.
Many of them were trafficked to illegal cocoa farms in Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana's deep forest.
There are millions of child and forced laborers like them.
This is sad and unacceptable.
Many companies like Hershey's and Mars use child labor and do nothing to stop it.
But you can make a difference.
You can protest by only buying fair trade chocolate.
Fair trade is a group that ensures that no farmers use child labor and get paid a fair price for their cocoa.
If you only buy fair trade chocolate, you can make a difference.
Every morning at 6 a.m., many children are being forced to wake up and get ready to go out in the burning hot sun in the air with very little breeze, to just go out and work.
Imagine waking up in the smelly cot, going to work in blistering heat, going up, down, with the machete, looking down to collect the cocoa beans.
The next time you indulge on M&Ms or a Twix bar, imagine yourself eating a child's education, family, love, and childhood.
Where's the chocolate?
We don't have any. Go to the store.
All I want is peace, love, and a chocolate bar. How can you say that when children are being tortured almost to death, and all that comes out of hours of work are maybe a couple hundred cocoa beans?
These children don't get peace, love, or even an education. Every bite you take is a child's blood, sweat, and tears that you are devouring.
These children need futures, and the only one that can start to make that change is you.
Yet somehow, you continue to let cocoa into countless countries, and millions of children are still living their lives in agony.
Now you know that the sweet dream of chocolate has been fabricated at the roots. Children have worked hard for the chocolate that they get no pay for. All those children suffering to make your pleasant treat, is their exhausting effort worth that small bite of chocolate?